Hi, this is Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart, and today is Tuesday, November 8th, 2016. I wanted to do an update on the marijuana sector, cannabis stocks. I haven't done an update recently. For a while there, I was very active. Earlier in the year, we were very active on the trade on the marijuana stocks, especially in the trading room. Caught a lot of those, and then more recently, again, we had just so many of these setting up with just beautiful chart patterns, and the history on these go back. I have to credit. No, I'm sorry if I'm forgetting who it was now. Earlier in the year, back in early 2016, somebody had brought up a couple names, and I looked into them. And my original reply was, these are penny stocks. As a whole, I try to shy away from penny stocks. Penny stocks, more often than not, you'll lose money. Highly speculative. However, upon reviewing the charts, I also said I was surprised to see how well these stocks behaved to the technicals. And then after that first run in the stocks, I really started warming up, looking into the fundamental story behind these and the potential. And as I've stated and made clear in many of the videos in the trading room, the potential is just enormous. The growth in the cannabis stocks, cannabis sector is only going to go forward. It's a snowball rolling down the hill that, without a doubt, and I'm talking not in the days or next few days, next few weeks. I'm talking over the next in the coming years. The trend has been more and more individual states and more countries around the world approving, legalizing marijuana for both recreational and or medical use. And again, that's a trend that has only been moving forward, and I can't see anything that would undo any of that. In other words, have any of those states go from, legalizing that already have it legalized to undoing that. So therefore, you have a market which probably to me right now probably the best growth industry that I can think of, and again, it's a long-term play. All right, now with that being said, the case has been made there, and I'm sure most of you are hearing now. There's more and more on TV about this, the industry, and there's many different companies that do many different things. But I want to this is the point that I want to impress. All right. There are 5 states, if my numbers are correct, 5 states, including California, which has one of the large, the state of California has a GDP bigger than most countries around the world. So the potential in that market's huge. So there's 5 states, if I understand, that have it on the ballot today for recreational, to approve it for recreational use. Another 3 states voting on legalizing medical marijuana, plus Montana's voting to ease restrictions on marijuana use. So now, the main theme that I'm getting at here, and what we have to be careful for, these stocks have had a phenomenal run. For those of you that have traded or positioned, like myself, I said what I did is I took a shotgun approach, sprinkling small amounts across almost all the names, any of these with even a half decent chart pattern and or fundamental story. Obviously, I have some of my favorites where I'm weighted a little heavier, like that ACBFF, which is my core, my largest position by far, and it's the only official long-term trade on the site. And so I use that shotgun approach, spread it around. You don't know who will be the winners and the losers in the long run. And that by spreading it around, you're taking the same effect or the same net effect that you'd have with a mutual fund or an ETF. Diversifications, not putting all your eggs in one basket. And I also then swing trade these strategically, in these breakouts that we see here. That's where you go long. That's everything that I posted earlier. So if you're not familiar with the recent updates, whether it's in the trading room, there's a lot on my YouTube page you can check on there. Some of those posts are still restricted, and I'll probably release those for public content. That's how the YouTube page works. Certain updates and trade ideas especially are reserved only for paying subscribers, whereas market analysis and some other things are free. All right, so let's get into this. So the most important thing here is I believe in the long-term potential. However, this very well may be the case, and I suspect it is. We may get a buy the rumor, sell the news event here. For those of you not familiar with what that means, just as it sounds, the rumor being, more and more states are going to, approve marijuana again for either legal and or recreational use. And so we have the 8 states on the ballot. So let's just assume now, and it's hard to really say. You can do all your due diligence, try to read up on this. But it's hard to say how much of these gains, and I'm just looking at one stock here. Let's just pick this one back from June to today. It's easy for me to grab that measurement. Here's a stock up about 1,000%, and there's quite a few that are up much more than that. So 1,000% gain. You have to ask yourself how much, especially of this recent ramp up, is already priced into the fact that I don't know what the expectation of the 8 states voting to legalize it, whether the expectation is at 6 or 5, whatever that number is, push it forward. Let's just assume that it's even all half of the 8. And let's assume that the votes don't go that way. Let's say we have fewer states approve it. Then you have a huge potential for a crowded rush to the exits. Another thing to consider about these stocks is almost, not all, but almost all of these stocks were just recently penny stocks. Penny stocks, these are mostly over-the-counter, bulletin board, pink sheet stocks. If you don't know what these are, I'm throwing out a lot of terms. Look it up. These companies are not as regulated. They don't have the stringent reporting requirements that listed stocks do. Some of these companies may not have. I know some do have a very good business model, or at least a promising business model, and others may not. And just because they have the name cannabis or marijuana in there, there's been a feeding frenzy on these. And what you have to realize with these very low priced, more importantly than the stock price, and it tends to go hand in hand, is the market capitalization. Some of these stocks were just, had a market cap of a few $1,000,000, 10, 20, even less in a lot of cases. And what happens is it takes very little buying pressure to move a company with a very tiny market cap like that. So these phenomenal gains, as long as you have the buyers, these stocks go up. If there is a rush to the exit, if even let's just say all 8 states approve those recreational and medical use, legalize marijuana for both recreational medical use. Sorry, there's still a possibility that 100% and then some of the potential for these companies. And I'm talking the near-term potential. Remember, guys, the stock market does look out in the future, but how far out? In other words, these companies that have had 1,000, 2,000% increases in their stock price, has the fundamental outlook, even if these all 8 states this time around approve, uh, will that be the increase to the bottom line that these companies see, as far as revenue and profitability and all that? Maybe, maybe not. And again, as long as you have a lot of buyers, as I pointed out, these recent breakouts were confirmed on high volume. That's what you want to see. A lot of these stocks are looking like it may be a possible buying climax. And again, they can continue higher. My preference here, as I said before, let's wait at this point. Why buy today? Let's see what happens. Let the dust settle after the election. These things aren't going anywhere. If they continue higher, you can continue to use what I call a scaling approach. That's also what I'm doing with my core long-term holdings. I scale in. I trickle a little money here and there. In other words, what I mean by that, I'm not going to wait solely for a pullback. Let's say take can. I can tell you right now that a very objective pullback on a correction, by the way, that would cut the stock price in more than half. It's a $5 stock right now. The next solid support, and there might be some minor support, is this $2 level. If you guys remember, this was my long entry back here. I pointed the stock out before it even broke out, and we went up from 70, roughly 80 cents all the way up to the $2 level. That was my initial price target. And that is a very well-defined level. You can look back to the left of the chart here. You see numerous reactions where that level acted as support, then it acted as resistance, and of course we just kind of blew right through there with this feeding frenzy going on in these stocks now. But with that being said, just because we blew through it there does not invalidate that level as a very important support level. So therefore, here's one example. I like to use what I call strategic entries and exits on both the swing trades as well as the excuse me, as well as the long-term holds. The long-term investments. So, I do have a core position of this that I've tucked away. If the entire sector implodes at some point, I'll pull the plug. But again, as I told you guys, I don't put any more money into a penny stock, nor did I at the time, than I'm willing to lose. That's just my strategy. If you buy a penny stock, do what you want, but you have to accept the fact that you can wake up and that stock is worth nothing if something happens. So keep your position sizes small, and you don't have to put a lot into these guys to make a lot of money. That's the thing about them. So there's one that's there's a pullback to the $2 level would be objective, and there's some other support levels along the way you can see on this chart. And I'll go through all these charts real quickly, but again, I just wanted to impress upon the fact that very likely with these phenomenal gains that we've had recently in just short order, it is very likely that all, if not a lot more, of the potential profits in the foreseeable future for these companies have already been priced in. In other words, it's a case of we may get a buy the rumor, sell the news event here. And let's see, if we don't, let's say these things hold up and we get all, 7 or 8 or 6 of the states approve it, and these stocks continue to go higher, and the fundamental case is there, it's supported. Well, then at that point, I'll look for the next objective levels to add on, and we'll try to continue to both swing trade these, and I'll highlight those that look good for long-term investments. All right, so let's go through the charts. With that being said, just give it another, not just a day. Doesn't matter what they do tomorrow. Let's give it a week or so for what I call the dust to settle after the election results. We'll know which states have approved and which ones didn't. All right, so there's CAAN, again, one of my favorites, highlighted many times in the past. CNAB, United Cannabis. This chart is very skewed because of this errant candlestick here, but that was our last long entry on this breakout here, and we had this target up here, and that was good for roughly a 220% move. Since there it blasted through that level and went up, I don't see a lot in the charts other than the huge volume, which could be, it is good. It confirmed that breakout, but this may also be indicative of a buying climax. And again, the one thing I can tell you, because the market cap is still so low on these stocks, that once the momentum exits, once you have you don't have an overwhelming amount of buyers, these stock prices can collapse. And if you don't think that this stock that went up from just here, we'll just go back in August. I'll hit that point. I'm just using the measuring tool to the left. Here's a stock that went up over 2,100% since September, actually. And if you don't think that stock can come down and fall, 100% from where it is in the blink of an eye, then you really should be careful, because I can tell you these things can do that. So SGBY, this one, you can see this divergent high right now. This was one of many. A lot of these on my watch list, some of you on the site in the trading room pointed out, and I appreciate that. And I still encourage you to pass along names. I like to look at the fundamental stories on these as well as the charts. But this is one that looks like it's wedging higher. It might want to make another thrust higher in the wedge. Certainly possible. Maybe post-election, if we have, the number of states approving medical or recreational marijuana is to the above expectations. Maybe we get another surge up. Maybe not. Either way, we have divergent high right now in that one, so that one can pull back, and you can see any of these lines. If you're looking at a chart, and I didn't point it out, if you see a horizontal line, that is support if it's below prices, and if I have horizontal lines above, that is resistance. And a lot of times you have these previous reaction highs which act as resistance, so there's a potential target to the upside. And of course, this uptrend line is pretty well defined, so a break of that uptrend line would be bearish. CHUM, CHUM, not one of my favorites. ATTBF, Abatis Bioceuticals Corp. Keep in mind that because I trade in the U.S. and the majority of the traders on the right side of the chart are here in the U.S. or trade off the U.S. exchanges, I usually use the U.S. The symbols that are traded on one of the U.S. exchanges, even if it's or over-the-counter stocks. But many of these are Canadian companies, or they trade on the Canadian exchanges or other countries. So you guys will just have to look those up. If you have a question, a quick Google search will tell you. And if you go to any company's website, go to the bottom of the page. Usually there's a link to corporate information or shareholder information, and they'll tell you what. If they list their shares on various exchanges. MCIG, this one just took out this downtrend line, exploded, and again, you're looking from the lows to the highs in just a few months. There's a gain of about 800%. This one's at resistance. You can see the reaction here. There's some levels over here. You have to really go back a few years to see it, but there's a stock at resistance. Longer term, like everything else here, the outlook's bullish. Here was a downtrend line it took out, looked like it based for a while. This was a key level here. You can see, go back to the left if I shade that. So again, in the long term, well, I wrong tool, wanted my shading box there. So you can see how well these things respond to the technicals. And now you're at a level where we've had reactions in the past, and that's certainly a resistance level. Now, if I could and should add some additional lines above that one, but I'm not doing that right now because I'm not looking to buy these things right here. There are certainly some upside targets, and I'll try to follow up as time goes on with my favorites for both swing trade and or long-term holds. CVSI, this was another one mentioned here. It broke out there. It's had a heck of a run. This is just a flag measurement. You have this you can see here in the middle. Let me highlight that. Oops. Here we go. There's a bull flag pattern right there. And here's a flagpole. That one broke out and already met the bull flag measurement. You had just add the flagpole onto the bottom of the flag. And it's come back in a little bit. So like a lot of these, it also has quite a bit of resistance up here. So there's one that may be getting ahead of itself. But longer term, I see this one all the way up here to 228. That 230 level is a very likely target. Gets very thin up there. So this is one, again, we just want to buy it right. And it may be, this is a pretty decent level, that $53 support level. And that one may have offered an objective entry. But again, I'd like to wait till after the elections. But there's about another 300% upside on that one. AMMJ, very steep ascending price channel. You can see if you zoom in here, you have a divergent high. Price is making a higher high. So this one, I think, has a lot of hot air. It's had a heck of a run. And again, this is one I would like to position or add to on a pullback. But there's a 2,500% run since September, early September. And you can see any or all of these levels. Ideally, this 33-cent level would be a gift if we get back that far. We may not make it back that far, but there's some levels you can look at to add back or add to an existing position. MJNA, I think we have to go out a little longer. Yes, we do. You go out longer, you can see the reactions here, reactions all the way back here. So MJNA had a heck of a run, smacked into resistance, and it had what you guys hear me refer to often. I use the term momentum-fueled overshoot. And you have this near parabolic, a vertical run. That's a strong momentum, and it's so often the case both on upside advances as well as very powerful sell-offs. You have these, what I call momentum-fueled overshoots. So the fact it broke through there, I say that because on face value, if I say, well, 21 is a resistance level, 21 cents on MJNA, you might take that to mean, which typically in trading, a break above resistance is a buy signal, it's bullish. Well, not when a stock is super extended and it's a momentum-fueled overshoot. So that's why you can see there that one failed. And just from that point, it had the overshoot. It had a one-day pullback. It looks like that's a one-day candlestick of 62%. So had you taken that breakout and you weren't careful with your stops, sure, if you held on, it bounced back, but that was a 62% drop just a day after it had that momentum-fueled overshoot. And it's come back up, but it's still below that resistance level. And again, here's some great levels. You could even add one right here too. So there's quite a few levels. And again, I'll just have to take it as a whole since I don't have or I'm not aware of, and I guarantee you very soon if it's not out there now, and if I had the money and the know-how and knowledge and connections to do it, I would be the first to market with a marijuana ETF. It'll be huge when it comes out. It's just like the drug industry, usually first to market with a new drug it tends to keep market share, and they're the market leaders. So that's usually the case with ETFs. It's the first to market, and we'll have one soon. And guys, if you already found one, or if there's one in the works, which I imagine there is, let me know the symbol, and that'd be an easy way to track the sector. But right now, we don't have at least not that I'm aware of, any marijuana sector, marijuana ETF. So the best gauge is I have my watch list of about 30 stocks, and I just kind of get my feel on those stocks by looking at the sector as a whole. And as I say, birds of a feather flock together. You can see it's the same story. Almost all of these, anything with the name marijuana, cannabis, in the stock description of the stock name has just gone crazy. And like I said, some of them rightfully so because they really have some sound business models. They do some different things. They're not all pot growers. They're not all pot vendors. Some of them do. They have all type of different things that they do within the marijuana sector. Here's Arrow, AERO, bearish rising wedge, pretty clear divergences. This one, it's also struggling this resistance level, which is about 483 or so. It's punched through it, sliced through it a few times recently, but there you can see the long-term chart. So, like I said, all of these long-term still look good, but I fear for a profit-taking bout. I would definitely say an easy way to say it is the risk reward from this point, in my opinion, is skewed to the downside, not to the upside. And that's only in the near term. I'm talking, guys, days or weeks or maybe even a couple months. ENRT resistance, it's already hit that resistance level once. You can see going back quite a few tags over here. That level was certainly a valid resistance level. Here's an uptrend line to watch. Again, that one's not one of my favorite. EAPH, very well-defined downtrend line. Took out that downtrend line just from the breakout. It ran all the way up here, about a 480% run. You can see resistance with this previous reaction high, some reactions there. Seems to be flagging somewhat. Had a little bit of a small flagging action here in my first target zone. And from this, it might be a bull flag, and maybe that one has, if so, that would be a massive bull flag, which could, measure way up there, probably up close to the $1 level, but I'd be a little bit leery right now. Again, following the heels of a run of 1,100%. How much of that 1,100% move has been priced into the stock? And keep in mind, talk about a penny stock. This sucker was it was 0.2 cents a share, not 2 cents, 0.002. So 0.2%. That is, I have to imagine. And again, I haven't looked into this one personally, but you need to make sure this one has a solid fundamental business model. Otherwise, this is all hype, and there's a lot of hot air in that stock, and this thing could come down easily to the bottom of that target zone from here, which would be a 56% drop, and who knows, maybe it goes on to backtest that downtrend line at lower levels. CCAN. This one really hasn't taken off yet, but it is basing. One to keep an eye on, 84 cents a share right now. By basing, I'm talking about this, the recent price action over the last few months, really in this area here. And each of these are resistance levels / potential target levels, so I probably didn't draw that base very well there. Let me do it one more time. This area between here, so something like this. If it breaks above that 105 level, then you see a move up to here. That'd be your first target. May want to base a little more, or may want to blast through again if this one has a legitimate business model. And that will all, over time, the market will sort that out, which ones of these will be the winners and losers. Cara, as I mentioned, Cara is not a direct play. It's a pharmaceutical company that works on pain medications. I've talked about this one quite a bit. I love the fundamental story. I have a long-term hold in this one. I even rolled the dice, took an earnings play, and that went well. That little drop below the triangle happened on the day before the earnings was announced. So once they announced, they snapped right back up into the triangle. And we've already shot up about a 42, I think, percent gain since then. So the next, as I mentioned, I put an update on the front page. We need to see a breakout of this triangle pattern, and ideally, I want to see that 940 level get taken out. It was a former resistance level I had. It's a little bit above the triangle. You still have this reaction high to contend with around 980, but these are potential long-term targets. And again, Cara, not a direct play, but one of the painkillers that they're working on, or pain medications, I should say, is a cannabinoid. It works. It's a cannabinoid receptor-based pain medicine versus the other opiate receptor-based meds that they're working on. CBDS, cannabis sativa, decent looking chart. But it has you can see pretty significant resistance here around 902. Let's see if we go back a little farther. It doesn't show a whole lot. So it took out that downtrend line, but there's one at resistance. Like everything else since earlier this year, it's just had a heck of a run up. 2000, 2,420% since February. So maybe a long-term play, but right now, most objective, we're talking objective, you don't buy a stock right in front of resistance. You either wait till resistance is taken out, in other words, that 902 area, or you wait for a pullback to support. Support would be that downtrend line right here. I could extend that out a little bit. You can see that downtrend line and how well that downtrend line also comes in with horizontal support. So this would be a very objective level. By horizontal support, I'm talking this line here. You can see reactions from above, from below. So this is a level. You have intersecting support levels, horizontal support and downtrend line resistance. So just from trading 101, that's objective. Pull back to that level, go long there, or add to your existing position. And then the next objective level would be if and when it can take out that level I said around 902. And then you'd next resistance after that would be these all-time highs back here. So there's one with potential. GRNH, this one's done very well. I mean, we traded this one back here. The first pop, like the whole sector earlier in the year, and then came back into them here. So this one was that last, if I recall right, on the site in the trading room. It was a break over 05, either or the triangle pattern. This is an ascending triangle pattern, or the 05 level, 5-cent level. And either way, this broke out, back tested the downtrend line and blasted off, but it has come up. You can see all the way to the left of the chart these reaction highs. So there's a stock that ran right into resistance at 16-cent level, and you can see by the red lines here it has a divergent high. It's already started. That divergence has already started to play out in the form of a correction. It's pulled back a little bit, and again, each of these are support levels, and you can see it's reacted off this. We'll call it 9.5 cent level roughly. And if it goes a little lower, there is decent support around 7.8. And again, any of these lines. But I don't expect these stocks to drop back to where they recently broke out. I think you'd want to look to buy them somewhere else in here. ACBFF, again, this is Aurora. As I mentioned, this is one of the. We've had it as an official swing trade, actually 2 swing trades. We did very well in both swing trades, as well as a long-term trade, which was entered also back here at 55 cents. So it's at $1.55 now. So we're already up, that's a triple on that one already. And again, I think I set the first price target $3, sort of an arbitrary point. When you have a stock at all-time highs, there's really not any reactions or resistance levels to look at. You can use Fibonacci projections and all that, but this is a fundamental. I really like the fundamental story. I've talked on this one ad nauseum. And I've listed, there's a stop that we have on for the long-term trade, but I'm willing to ride this one out. And again, strategically add to these positions. That's what I talk about. That's my theme. So what I mean by that? Well, recently we had a pullback here. There was a gap right here. See that gap? It was defined. These lines I've had on this board here since October 12th, it looks like. And what happened? We had pulled back. There was a momentum overshoot. Remember, these are thinly traded stocks. Aurora's a little bit, better. It's above that dollar level. I mentioned that before, that once it got above the dollar level, that would be very bullish. And it was. Continue to move up. And you can see, so on the pullback, we had an intraday momentum overshoot. That's what that candlestick wick, or I should say shadow or tail right there is. And then prices snapped back up to close right at the top of that gap. So that's TA 101. So there was a gap backfill. Yes, a little bit intraday momentum overshoot, which is not uncommon with these low-priced, very volatile, fast-moving stocks, only to see it close back above the top of that gap after backfill and then move higher. That is a strategic add-on, as would have been if it fell back down to the $1 level, which it didn't. I'd rather not see it go down that far. So the next bullish, well, there's a couple things you could look at, but again, let's wait till after the elections and let the dust settle. But you can see a downtrend line forming here. So certainly a break of that downtrend line. It's not the most well-defined. You only have a few reactions so far, but it is a downtrend line nonetheless. And then you have the previous reaction high, about $1.90 or so, and that would be also a bullish technical event and an objective level to add on to that one. TRTC looks like it's wedging up here. You can see this uptrend line and this uptrend line with the PPO, which is better used on these stocks than a MACD, as well as the RSI, both either making equal or lower highs. That's negative divergence. The stock is also right around a resistance level. PHOT, very thinly traded, not one of my favorite, just one on my list. CGRO, Canagro, we had it, I believe, here, took that big move up there on that breakout, and then again, the next buy signal we had was here. Looks like possibly one big bull flag pattern. It's a little bit wide for a bull flag, to be honest with you, but either way, this one's had a heck of a run up. You know, it's up about 660%. In relatively short order. Looks like a buying climax. Now you can see on this one, this is more indicative of buying climax. The volume surged up to this point where it reached, now it's tapered off. So that is, if you look up the term buying climax, that is very indicative of that. And that may mean this stock might have seen the highs for some time. Now, if it comes back down, this level here, this green line, which is at, let's see, just over $1 level, down to about the 95-cent level, is very, very good support. You have these two big major reaction highs here. So, you know, as far as objective entries, I'm not saying it will get there, but if it does move down to around just above the $1 area, you add with a stop not too far below. Below that is support down around 75, maybe 70 cents. Probably won't get there. I think that would be your most objective entry, but you can scale in, add a little bit here. If it moves higher and reverses and things look good, you can continue to build on your position, or you can add down to this level, but I wouldn't add below that. You hit a certain point where these stocks, based on what they've done, there are certain levels they should not cross below now, and if they do, that is a very bad sign. So that would be my final add-on level there with a stop. It's around 72 cents. And if it goes much below that, I would not continue to add. In fact, I would be looking to scale out the position by stopping out. Scale out just means stop out, maybe not all at once, but sell it in fractional lots. CBIS, not much to say. Beautiful pattern. This one was, again, another one of the ones highlighted. Go back to this daily chart. There was a downtrend line it took out, had a little bull flag action right there. Bull flag played out and then some. This one's just exploded with, gains of, 470% or so in just the last couple months. Again, may be indicative of a buying climax. Either way, it's strong volume. And like I said, the momentum is there. They had a little correction recently, a pretty sharp correction, and they powered back up, but they've yet to take out that previous reaction high. And that's one thing you want to watch for this one. It has a reaction high back here. And, another pullback to this level. Again, each or any of these lines are objective levels to add on. TWMJF, Canopy Growth Corporation. It's a series of these symmetrical triangles, breakout, symmetrical triangle, breakout. This one has this uptrend line, broke down, and it has this parallel, what I call sub or minor uptrend line, that it's moving up now. So if that breaks down, there's a little bit of divergence. If you really zoom in here and you draw it like this from that last high to this previous most recent reaction high, you can see how the RSI and the MACD have, or the PPO, potential negative divergence. We don't really have clean separation. So and you got to be careful about shorting these. You can get wiped out. You can make a fortune if you hit it right. Be careful. If you know what you're doing, there's certain, you can probably pick up on some of these charts that I've covered here. Some of these look like better shorting ops than others. But I will certainly not be adding that as official trade ideas. Those are highly speculative. It's highly speculative to go long these stocks. Shorting them is a whole nother story. All right, APHQF, there it is, an ascending price channel. You have a parallel channel, well-defined uptrend line. Support level here about 250, a little over that, 251 maybe, and then 220, 221. Those are your objective levels on a breakdown or downside targets if you care to short it. And other than that, I don't see it going this far, but this would be the final stopping point on that. If it goes below $1.40, something's really wrong with that one. Alright, I'll have to go through these faster. This video is going a little longer than I thought it might. EDXC, there's your levels. You can see these. I don't have the numbers put up on all of these, but as after the elections, once the dust settles, I will sort of update these charts a little more. I haven't updated these in a while. Some of these I haven't updated in a while. There's MCOA, Marijuana Company of America. There's got to be a reason that line's there. There it is. I go back to a 2-day period chart just because it allows me to go back. Actually, that's a 3-day period. Not sure why it's doing that. There we go. Previous reaction high there. Maybe I did have to go to a 3-day on that one to show you the reactions. So there's a stock, very overbought. It was a clean pattern, clean breakout. Like I said, the beauty of these marijuana stocks is they just behave so well to the technicals, and that's often the case, guys. When you don't have the fundamentals to go off of, these guys don't have consistent earnings. Most of these don't have any positive, or they're operating at a loss. And so the fundamentals, there's just the potential for the sector. So these are kind of a hope, and people are putting money in hopes that these will be the companies that play out. And that's why the technicals work better. That's all you have to go off really right now is the charts, more so than the fundamentals on these guys, at least specific to each company, that is. ERBB, American Green, there's level resistance. There's your next target up here. If it gets above there, it's about 1.2 cents a share, somewhere around there. Could be flagging there, but a pullback here is some of your objective levels to go along these two lines here. DEWM, Dumar International, not one of my favorites. Let's just move on. Just 2 more to go and we're done. FULL, as I mentioned, this one's not a pure play. This is a financial services company, and if I'm not mistaken, they do financing for a lot of the marijuana type companies. And either way, it's an interesting chart pattern. I have it in that list because there is that association with the cannabis sector. And so you can see this, it's just tapping on 274, 275. So break out of that level would quickly pop this one up to the $3 level, and then any of these lines there above. So this is a basing pattern. You might want to set a price alert for a move over 275 and then look for a breakout on high volume. And last but not least is VAPE, V-A-P-E. This one's already played out. It was pointed out, I believe, by a member on the site back here. So I put up a chart. You had this downtrend line. That downtrend line was taken out. You had resistance here, targets, all these targets hit. And here's another example of a momentum overshoot. You had pretty well-defined resistance right here. You can see all the reactions on that uppermost line. We shot above it on the momentum, but we've since come down below it or right on there. So there's pretty much a stock at resistance. Now, if and when this level goes with conviction, it's pretty thin. By thin, look at the volume price histogram. There's not a lot of resistance all the way up until, well, really the sky's the limit. This one doesn't have a lot of trading history past there. I would say, I can tell you right now, that would be the target right there. I don't know what's wrong with the scaling. There we go. There's a long-term target. Call it 40 cents a share or something like that. So here's a basing pattern. Maybe a cup and handle might be in play here. If this is a cup, maybe it needs to put in a handle right here. That would be a nice cup and handle breakout if it does after that. But we'll leave it at that. So again, high volume, everything you want to see. Let's just watch what happens after the election, and then I will start putting out updates as well as charts on some of my favorites that stand out. This has been Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart. Hope you enjoy.